Hello everyone, welcome to Eye on Africa. I'm Wassim Cornet. These are the main headlines. It's the final stretch for the two remaining candidates in Madagascar's presidential election. Voters will head to the polls on Wednesday to choose their next leader as the curtains close on a tense campaign. The debate continues in the Democratic Republic of Congo over the use of electronic voting machines in this week's election. Critics worry the machine may be used to manipulate results, but the Electoral Commission says it's going ahead with its decision to use them. And how domestic reform in Ethiopia has led to a reshuffling of the country's media landscape. Our reporters meet with the former political prisoners who are now leading newspapers and TV newsrooms. But first, it's a showdown between two former presidents. Ange Radzouel and Marc Ravalman will face off in Wednesday's presidential election in Madagascar. Both candidates have clashed repeatedly and spent large amounts of money on their campaigns in a country which suffers from extreme poverty. The election has also been marked by low interest for the race. Just over half of registered voters went to the polls in the first round of voting last month. And as the campaign draws to a close, the two contenders have been making last-ditch efforts to convince voters. Laurent Berstecher has the story.
A last-gasp attempt to secure votes before a crucial presidential runoff. Supporters of Ange Radzouel distributed rice and oil in the Malagasy capital just days before the country is set to choose its next president. But where some have denounced an attempt to buy votes, for others, the handouts are proof that the candidate cares about the needs of the poor.
We need this. Life is expensive, our kids must go to school, and we need to feed ourselves.
In November, a first round of voting saw Marc Ravalman and Ange Radzouel largely eclipse the other candidates. Since then, the two historical rivals haven't pulled any punches and reignited an old political feud. In 2009, then-President Ravalman was ousted by an army-led coup and was replaced by Ange Radzouel. On Sunday, the two men clashed in a televised debate, ripe with provocations and accusations of corruption. Both also lavishly invested in their campaigns, seizing on every opportunity to make promises and distribute handouts. On Saturday, Marc Ravalman unveiled a new school kit, which he vowed to gift to all of the country's pupils if he wins the election.
We live in extreme poverty. We're unemployed. We want education to improve. There are so many Malagasy children who can't go to school because they're poor.
With only 45% of registered voters taking part in the first round, voter turnout is likely to be the key factor on Wednesday.
In the Democratic Republic of Congo, it's crunch time for candidates taking part in Sunday's presidential election, the first in the country since 2001. Another first will be the use of electronic voting machines, which the Electoral Commission has claimed will make the process smoother and safer. Some critics, though, are worried the machines will be used to manipulate the results. Independent observers have also voiced concerns that they could be prone to security failures. So how will the machines be operated come Sunday, and how do voters feel about them? Our reporter Thomas Nicolon went to find out more.
This is the infamous voting machine, a touchscreen on which voters will select their candidate for the election before a ballot is printed and put into a ballot box to be counted manually. The president of the Electoral Commission claims that this machine will make voting easier for the population and at the same time guarantee total transparency.
The ballot boxes should tell the truth. We want the winner to win. The best of them all must succeed. The machine is here to annihilate all attempts at cheating, which we unfortunately witnessed in the 2011 and 2006 elections. This is what the machine is here to fix.
At the Electoral Commission headquarters, as in several places in Kinshasa, voting machines are displayed so that anybody can come and experiment with the new technology.
Now that I've tried it, it looks very easy to me. But the question is now, will the uneducated people, like our mothers in the villages, know how to use the machine?
With the poll fast approaching, some opposition leaders are still very unhappy about the use of the machines, which they call cheating machines.
The voting machines are not a reliable way to vote. Congolese people are not used to it. It does not exist in our electoral law either. The Kabila clan chose this way of voting so that they can cheat.
This is only the latest incident in what has been a fraud campaign. 8,000 voting machines destroyed in flames in the heart of Kinshasa. Both the government and the opposition accuse each other of responsibility for the fire. But the Electoral Commission claims that there is still enough machines to go on with the election on the 23rd of December.
Now to Tunisia, where a list of measures that aim to prevent citizens from leaving the country to join armed groups is coming under increased scrutiny. Under the rules, a citizen placed on the S-17 list by the government has to inform border police of their travel plans and could even be denied from leaving the country at all. Rights groups, though, say the S-17 has paved the way for abuse of powers and human rights violations. Our correspondents Lilia Blaise, Hamdit Lili, and Vanessa Zakal have this report.
Nader is an engineer from a working-class neighborhood in Tunisia's capital. In 2012, after appearing in a friend's rap video, he learned that the government had placed him on a terrorism watch list.
This music video changed my life. It all began when someone posted photos from our video shoot on Facebook. The pictures, which show me holding a fake pistol, portrayed me as someone who belongs to an extreme leftist group planning a coup. 1 year later, I was stopped downtown for an ID check and found out I was listed under S-17.
S-17 was introduced by the Interior Ministry in 2013, part of efforts to prevent Tunisians from leaving to fight in conflict zones. In the meantime, many citizens like Nader found themselves banned from travel. As a result, he was unable to pursue studies in Italy as he'd planned. In October, Amnesty International denounced the arbitrary and abusive nature of S-17 measures.
S-17 measures are used arbitrarily since they have no legal basis. There's no judge or justified decision banning people from traveling, no indication of the proof used against these individuals, and no time limit on the restriction.
Since Amnesty International released its report, the Interior Ministry has started working on a revised version of S-17.
Among its main tasks, the work group is adapting S-17 to become a legislative measure. This means going through Parliament to be passed as a law.
Today, the only way to challenge S-17 is through the administrative court. The process is not an easy one for the average citizen. Of the 700 petitions filed against the Interior Ministry, only 100 final verdicts have been issued, a mere half of these in favor of citizens.
And finally, it's a new era for media in Ethiopia. In the past few weeks, 5 newspapers have been launched in the country, boosted by reforms rolled out by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. TV and radio channels are also popping up, sometimes even featuring journalists who were previously jailed or exiled. But as you're about to see, this new wave of press freedom does still have some restrictions. Our reporters Julia Steers, Nathalie Tissot, and Bastien Renouille have this report.
1 month ago, the weekly paper Addis Mileta was launched. Today, the editorial team is about to close the 4th issue. Befakadu, a former blogger, spent several years in prison, and now he's the editor of the paper.
The only thing I never wanted to compromise was my freedom of expression, even when it was really tough. But that didn't mean that I was not worried or afraid or hated to get into jail over and over again. But, eventually it paid off.
The public access channel in the Oromia region has a new editor, too. After 16 years in exile, Mohammed came back with the goal of making OBN a genuine public service channel, one that doesn't take orders from the government. But recently, former intelligence and military officers were arrested, and that night, the channel, along with others, broadcast a damning documentary focusing on suspicions hanging over the officials.
That, of course, gives the impression that the state is using the media to persecute these individuals. Of course, that was a problem. But ultimately, in media, competition. We have to present information on a timely manner.
There's more competition in print media, too, and Manyahin comes here to oversee the final printing of his weekly. At this state-owned press, newspapers that were once banned can now print new issues. But the laws that regulate the media are still strict.
Government doesn't officially censor private medias, but individual journalists censor themselves, fearing accusations based on the anti-terrorism law, which is still very restrictive.
Reforms of existing media laws are under review, but keeping new media houses afloat will also be an economic challenge. 2 papers that were recently launched have already folded.
And that'll do it for this edition of Eye on Africa. Thank you very much for watching. Live from Paris continues right after this.